everybody. So I'm back to read your story with you today. It's going to be on page 92 and 93 in your book if you want to follow and read along with us. So remember, the title of our story is A Tree is Growing. It was written by Arthur Doros. And our essential question is, what are some differences among types of trees? A giant tree may look as if it has always been big, but even the biggest tree keeps growing and changing. In the spring, you can see that a tree is growing as you watch buds on the branches unfold into leaves. So then we have a caption over here to describe the picture. So this little thing is called a caption. Bristlecone pines are the oldest known living trees on Earth. Some have been growing for 5,000 years, since before the pyramids in Egypt were built. Leaves can be skinny needles or big heart shapes. Whatever shape or size a leaf is, it makes food for the tree. That's interesting. The leaves make the food. A kind of sugar is made in the leaves. Trees use the sugar as food. So if you look, we have all kinds of examples of different leaves and then a little caption to tell you what it is. A palm tree, a white oak tree, a ginkgo tree, an empress tree, a white pine, a breadfruit tree, a red maple. The sugary water made in the leaves is mixed with other tree juices called sap. The food in the sap is carried throughout the tree. Where a branch breaks or where bark is cut, sap oozes out of a tree. The strong smell of some saps can keep insects from eating the trees they live on. If you rub a sassafras leaf, the sap smells spicy. That was a hard sentence to say. So again, these are captions to describe the picture. Maple syrup is the boiled sap of sugar maple trees. So if you've ever put maple syrup on your pancake, that's the sap from a maple tree. A tree needs sunlight, air, soil, and water to grow. Water travels through passages in the trunk and branches up to the leaves. The water moves up the trunk as if it is being sucked through a straw. Sugary sap made in the leaves travels down other passages in the trunk, taking food to different parts of the tree. So just like we have veins in our body that carry our blood around, the tree has passages to carry the sugar and the sap around. Baobab trees store water in the trunks. When a baobab tree trunk is swollen with water, it's round and fat. In dry weather, the tree gets water from the trunk. Then the trunk gets thinner. So you can see here's a picture of when the trunk is full of water and then when it kind of starts to slim down. We don't have baobab trees around here. A few kinds of trees drop roots from branches into the soil to gather water. Banyan tree roots grow into columns all around the tree. Growing roots are strong. A root can lift a sidewalk or split a rock as it grows. By splitting the rock, it helps make soil. The roots of a tree grow into the ground and hold the tree in place. Roots are like pipelines. They absorb water and carry it into the tree. A tree's roots spread out far underground. They usually grow out a little farther than the tree's branches. Trees need minerals to grow. Minerals are tiny particles that are found in the soil. Salt is one kind of mineral. Like salt, other minerals dissolve in water. They are mixed in with the water that roots absorb and are carried throughout the tree. Mushrooms growing among the roots of a tree can help it get minerals, and the mushrooms and plants growing near a tree get water brought by the tree's roots. These are bicolored boletus mushrooms. Oh, I missed some. A white oak tree, earthworms, and a beetle grub. So this is kind of neat. They're showing us not only trees, but the vegetation and animals that grow around it. That's why it's handy to have captions. I would not have known that that was a beetle grub if that caption wasn't there to tell me. Bark is the skin of a tree. The outer layer of bark protects the tree. When an oak tree is young, the bark is as smooth as a baby's skin. As the tree grows older, the bark becomes rough and cracked. So this is a flicker. I've never heard of that bird. This is a polyphemus moth. Some of these words are tricky. Looking at the bark of a tree can help you know what kind of a tree it is. The cork used for bulletin boards is the peeled off outer bark of a cork oak tree. Honey locust bark has spines to help protect the tree. So remember we talked about cacti, the sharp pointy things are spines? So it's kind of like a cactus tree almost. If you touch it, it would stick you. In cool climates, cambium only grows in spring and summer. Count growth rings to see how old a tree was when it died. An old fir tree can have over 1,000 rings, one for every year that it lived. In tropical rainforest trees, the cambium grows all year and there are no rings. It's hard to tell the ages of those trees. Okay, so you can see here's a diagram. Remember we talked about the text features? This is a diagram that tells me when a tree gets cut down. So it's got xylem, and then that green layer is cambium, and that's what makes the rings. And then there's phloem. Okay, here's a little snail sitting on this tree stump. And then these are the growth rings. So if you've ever seen a tree outside when it's been cut down, these are the growth rings. The bark you can touch and see is not growing anymore. Underneath it is a layer of growing bark called cambium. Each year's cambium growth is a ring in the wood of a tree. As trees add new cambium, the trees become bigger around. Next to the cambium are two layers called xylem and phloem. Water from the roots moves through the xylem, so right here, so it comes from the ground up into the tree. And sap from the leaves moves through the phloem. So the xylem carries the water, the phloem carries the sap. Trees go bigger around and they grow taller. As a tree grows, lower branches may fall off, making the trunk look longer. But the branches do not move upward on the trunk. A tree grows taller only at the top as the tips of the top branches grow upward. If you find a mark on a tree trunk today, that mark would stay at the same height for as long as the tree lives. Isn't that cool? So look, there's a thing stuck to it, and 10 years, 20, 30, 50, 200, it never moves. It always stays in the same spot. This is a calabash tree, a nectar-eating bat, a purple finch, a saucer magnolia, and a catkin. Birds, insects, and even bats are attracted to flowers to drink their sweet juices. When they brush the flowers, the animals get a powder called pollen on them. The animals carry the pollen to other flowers. When it mixes with certain parts of the flowers, seeds grow. Wind also helps pollinate flowers. In the spring, you can smell tree flowers. Tree flowers are found in many shapes and colors and have many different smells. Parts of the flowers grow to become seeds. Oak trees have dangling clumps of flowers called catkins that help make acorns, the seeds of an oak tree. So I feel like we've probably all at some point seen an acorn, and that's actually the seed of an oak tree. If you planted it, an oak tree would grow. An oak tree can drop more than 50,000 acorns in a year. Only a few of them grow into oak trees. Most are eaten, crushed, rot, or land in a place where they cannot take root. Acorns can be carried away and dropped or buried by animals to grow in new places. I think we all know that squirrels like acorns. Other kinds of seeds blow in the wind or float on water. So there's a sugar maple seed. Those are the ones that spin around kind of like a helicopter. There's acorns, a Brazil nut, a mountain pine cone, and a cherry. Different kinds of trees make seeds with different coverings. Nuts, cones, and fruits all have seeds inside. Coconuts are seeds of a palm tree. A coconut can float across the ocean and sprout on a sandy beach. In cool climates, trees stop growing in the autumn. The leaves of many trees stop making sugary foods and they lose their green color. Then you can see the red, brown, yellow, and orange colors that are also in the leaves. Pine trees and other trees have needles or leaves that do not change color in the autumn. Autumn is a great time to collect leaves. Each tree has its own special color. A tulip poplar, a ginkgo, a big-tooth aspen, sweet gum, pin oak. And then we've got some animals, a millipede, earthworms, a spider, beetles, and a mole. When leaves fall to the ground, insects and worms eat them. The chewed and eaten bits of leaves make the soil better for growing trees and other plants, so it makes the dirt healthier. Trees rest in the cold of winter and their branches are bare. They may look as if they're dead, but look closely and you can see small buds that will become leaves and flowers in the spring. In the spring, listen to the wind rustling the leaves. The trees are growing again. So that's my favorite part of spring. I have several big trees in my yard and I love to watch the buds when they're really tiny and then they start opening up, and at first it's just little baby leaves and then soon I have a whole entire green tree. It's one of my favorite things to watch. And we're in the middle of March now, so pretty soon you're gonna be seeing that. So the next time you go outside, check out the trees and see if it looks like they're gonna start growing again.